What is it like being a woman in athletics, a student athlete woman in athletics?
I guess for me, being a female student athlete, I think honestly, I guess I always felt as it was just an honor to be a female student athlete, to be able to play my sport, just because at some point there was a not too long ago there was a time where women couldn't play sports at all on the collegiate level. So I always just saw it as being an honor that I'm able to do something that so many women weren't able to do, and they really wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for me, growing up, always involved in sports. It was second nature. It's like, why wouldn't I be involved in sports? And I didn't really learn about the history of women in athletics until I got to college, and understanding what Title IX actually is, and learning about the generations before us that didn't have the opportunity to play. I think that's made me much more prideful in being a female athlete.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of female student athletes, we don't see ourselves in the moment of playing our sport. We don't see ourselves as female student athletes, especially coming from a sport like mine, where like track and field, your teammates are males. It's a co-ed sport, and so you just see yourself as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. What were some struggles that you went through, if you had any?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like the biggest struggle that I struggle with is having, I guess it's almost like a dual ideology that you kind of struggle with, because a lot of, I say most sports, it's celebrated when you're rough and you're rugged and nothing gets to you. You have this very this mentality of being hard and being tough and being greedy, and that's how you get through hard races, hard swim meets and things like that. But when you step off the track, when you step out of your sport, society doesn't always take that as being that's how women are supposed to be. So there's always, I guess for me, there's always a struggle of, I guess, when to turn that off and on, I guess, and when that was to be perceived as appropriate versus inappropriate. I think that also comes from me being from the South and having a very traditional family. But yeah.
I mostly struggled with my getting confused, and this would be a fascinating thing to look at with women in sports, is how like the traditional roles of a female, and how like our self-concept and self-worth, my self-worth was tied into my performance, like way too much.
Yes.
And just really struggled, like if I did well, I was happy with myself, and if I did poorly, I was borderline probably depressed about like my value as a person. And so I think there's a switch that needs to be made it's like, okay, we're giving women the opportunity to play, but that has nothing to do with you as a person.
Right.
So
awesome. What difference did you see between men and women within it, especially Raven, because you did a co-ed sport? Did you see any differences? Was everyone treated equally?
My own experience, yes. Everyone, as far as how the coaches handled the interactions between the athletes and the coaches and things like that, I do believe that we were treated equally. I never felt as though the coaches were giving more time to the males than the females or anything like that. Thankfully, my freshman year, we won a national championship in track and field. So it's a big deal. It's a crazy big deal. The first time in KU history, a women's team had won nationals in the history of KU was my freshman year.
That's awesome.
First time in the history of KU, any female team across any of the 13 sports had won a national championship. So, especially coming in at such a special time like that, the coaches, and I think fast forward 5 years till now, I think the coaches have always done a really good job of giving the time and attention to detail to both their males and their females. And I think it helped me to have that push, and not just to, my male teammates and my female teammates cheering us along and was going through the same trials and tribulations that we all was going through. We were able to respect each other, not as females or males, but just, this is our team. We're working towards the same exact goal. So.
So swimming here, the men's team was dropped in 2002, I believe. So it wasn't, I think the Title IX was blamed. It was like, oh, the men's sport was dropped because of Title IX, and I think it was actually, in my opinion, because of football. And the scholarships that they're allowed to have is taking away opportunity from other men's sports. So that I felt pretty differently about that. But I mean, being a non-revenue sport, we didn't do it for the attention. We didn't do it for the fans. It was purely for the love of the sport and the ability to do it. So
awesome. If there was anything you could change, what would you want to change? If anything.
About the experience?
Yeah.
Personally, I guess the only thing I would see if I could see the change, and it's kind of piggybacking off of what Kara just said, is more fan base support for non-revenue, because track and field is still considered a non-revenue producing sport. More fan base, more support for the non-revenue producing sports, and to have that feeling. I mean, because track and field is one of those sports nobody cares about it until Olympics, so we're like every 4 years is when we get attention, kind of thing. Same with swimming, right? It's the only time people know, who swimmers are is at the Olympics. When people watch it on TV. So, just collegiately, it feels the same way. And so having, a more of a fan base support amongst the community, is probably what I would change.
I would say I wish I could shake myself my freshman year and tell myself to get out of the whole bubble of being an athlete and experience more than just your sport, because I think you get when you do something your entire life and you devote so much time and sweat and tears and blood into something, it just becomes your whole world. And when you're at a university, when you have the privilege to be here, you should be expanding yourself in every way, and not, I think that's one thing I wish would change about athletics, is that we would encourage people to get out of their own way and their own sport more often.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
I did the same thing my freshman year.
Shake it. Shake myself.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.